I see Ruth. You don't look like you have a cold.
Okay.
I said sore throat.
Yeah, so Ruth has a sore throat, so
Yeah, I'm just getting over it. I know. Shoot. It's going around.
I think you need breakfast at Village Smithy.
Okay, so shall we go?
We're ready.
Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Rasmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Uchiteda Vivagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Dhamma Gocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti 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 Om. So we have a few questions that Dave has sent me. We have some exciting questions to work on. I don't know if anybody else has has brought some more questions. But in any case, let's begin with the question presented by Dave. So the first question is, how does a jiva discern a qualified teacher? So as we know, the Vikekachudamani, in the first verse, it emphasizes, it goes over and over again into this topic of the relationship between the teacher and the student, and the value of this relationship and the importance of the teacher as far as self-knowledge and moksha is concerned, the role of a teacher. So Dave is presenting a very, very interesting question. How does a jiva, an individual, a seeker, can determine or discern who is a qualified teacher and who is not a qualified teacher? So this is a very good question, because I remember when I began seeking, I have no clue how to find out who was a good teacher and who was not, because I was seeing value in everyone and everything. Okay, oh, it sounds great, it looks great, anything is better than what I have got so far. So we being at that stage, we don't have much of, we don't have any means to determine who is a good, valid teacher. So if anything, we have after a few years or a few decades in the spiritual journey, we have our notions, our spiritual notions. We have our spiritual kind of program, conditioning. So that's what we have after some time. At the very beginning, we have almost nothing. We may get impressed by the nose of the guru, by the good-looking face, by the long beard, by the crowd of people around the guru. We may get impressed by the shakti, by the sense of spiritual family security that we get in there. So we may be attracted from different angles, but at the very, very starting entry point in our spiritual journey, we have no means. So after some years or decades, we pick up a lot of different notions, and then we begin having some material upon which I can judge the gurus. But whatsoever spiritual knowledge I have, it is still not pure, good spiritual knowledge, because I'm still confused. I'm still searching for help. I'm still trying to remove my ignorance. So it means to say whatsoever spiritual knowledge I have as a seeker is still a spiritual knowledge, meaning to say notions and ideas that have not served the purpose of neutralizing my ignorance. I'm still confused. Okay? So, and then at the most, we're going to judge the teachers according to our spiritual notions and concepts that I have integrated in my personality, in my mind. I have taken it in, I have digested, I have processed it, and I properly, digest it in a way that now it's everything is already digested, and I believe that it's knowledge. And then it may be difficult later on to sort out, first to recognize that this is now not all good knowledge, there is a lot of ignorance mixed up, and then to sort out through the good and the bad. It requires great honesty, integrity, and humility, and so on, to come. I remember, to me, when it came to a point after almost 10 years with Osho Rajneesh, when I finally understood that I had not even begun my spiritual path, because I was still there playing with toys, therapies and some meditations and having a good time here and there. So we don't. So the answer to this question, how does the jiva can determine who is a qualified teacher? So the jiva has no means to make that determination. So any kind of a basis I use to judge the teacher, I'm using my own knowledge, which is not really a pure knowledge. There is a saying in our sampradaya that says, like, it takes a yani to know a yani. You understand? So you need to be a yani to recognize another yani. And a lot of the time, even if you are yani, you fail to recognize the other yani. Because self-knowledge is not something that shines evidently on anybody, So we can't see it. It's not tangible. It cannot really be determined by even one's behavior, because one's behavior not necessarily is an indication. I mean, of course, we know that if someone is violating Dharma left and right, it is by itself an indication that one's self-knowledge did not really neutralized or canceled a lot of those ignorant tendencies of doing things for the sake of getting what I want. Therefore, I don't mind to breaking the rules and the laws and the dharmas and the ethics, because I still have some ignorance in my system. So we can sense a little bit who is a yani by the way he speaks, the way he lives, the people he is associated with, but there is room to mistake. When we look, for example, into the mirror, we can see our physical body, but then I'm going to ask you, can you see your mind in the mirror? We cannot. Why? Because the mind is subtle. Okay? So, and self-knowledge is very, very subtle knowledge. You understand? It's the most subtle kind of knowledge there is. So you cannot see it. So it's very, very difficult to try to find a qualified teacher, because the student is not a yani, is not qualified enough to judge. How can you judge some teachers? We're gonna judge from our standpoint, from our perspective. If I have learned that the teacher has to have 1,000 of disciples around him most of the time, and then I'm judging from that angle. If I hear that a teacher has to be someone wearing yellow clothes or white clothes, and then again, so I'm judging a teacher according to my superficial notions about what a teacher is. You understand? So how can a student determine it? You were saying something?
I was going to ask, from my experience of being a TM teacher for many years, there's such a big emphasis on purity of the teaching and not going outside that tradition. And although that kept me there for a long time, I do understand, or I think it's still true, and maybe you can tell me whether this is just conditioning or not, that once you've found something, it's a good idea to focus on that and not do that supermarket of spiritual teaching business. You know, because I'm trying to be very clear that I don't go outside this sampradaya with Chinmayananda and
Yeah.
that necessary.
This is a different angle. It's related. It's relational to what we are talking, but it's a different angle. So it's true that once you find yourself in one path, in one spiritual kind of tradition, you know, it's better you stop going all over the place like most people do. A lot of people do that because they are too rajasic. Rajasic people, they don't stay with one thing, you know. They keep just going all over the place. Okay? It's the nature of and they don't have the patience, the sattva mind to stay with something, you know. Maybe they're better, maybe here, maybe the neighbor, and maybe some other place where they offer a quick fix, you know, a quick resolution and so on. So you are absolutely right about that.
Okay.
So the student cannot be determined. The student is looking for a teacher because he's suffering the effects of its own spiritual ignorance. I'm looking for a teacher because I'm still suffering the effects of spiritual ignorance. What is the byproduct of spiritual ignorance? Which is suffering, it's pain, discomfort, conflicts, and so on. So I'm still in trouble. I'm still confused. Therefore, I'm looking for a teacher. So if that's the case, how can the person decide who is a good spiritual teacher? So a teacher is someone who is always wiser than the student, but it does not mean that the teacher is very or highly wise. No, I used to say that a teacher to me is always someone I can learn something from. Okay? So if someone is wiser than me, I can learn something here. So then I may need someone wiser so that I can learn more. I'm talking about learning spiritual knowledge, okay? So, but it's also valid on other fields of knowledge as well. So the teacher is looking for the student is looking for a teacher, and the teacher is going to always find someone who is wiser than him. He's going to be respectful. He's going to learn what he can learn. But he can never really judge it because he's not wise enough. He's not even wiser than his own entry-level teacher. When I met Osho Rajneesh, how could I judge him? To me, he was something that was like, I mean, there is no such a person. He's the master of the masters, as we used to say. You know, he's the teacher of the teachers. He's the highest. And I am the chosen one. I'm the rare chosen few. I mean, I was chosen somehow by existence, brought me together with the highest teacher. Therefore, I am the highest student possible. The ego plays all those numbers, you know. So the student does not have the means to determine and decide and pick a qualified teacher. So at this point, we need to trust Isvara. Isvara is the system, is the meritorious karmic system. So Isvara is always going to present us with the teacher, which is a perfect fit for our stage of development. You understand? Of course, Isvara does not play this alone because the jiva is integral part of Isvara. We play with Isvara. So we present our actions, we present our desires, but we present our desire with our actions that become vasanas, that become a desire in my mind. And then I say, I need a teacher now. And then there we go. Isvara is going to present a situation in my life in which I find someone. And then I begin learning something from the spiritual angle, you know. So Isvara is going to present us always with the teacher, which is somehow a good fit for my stage of development. We always get what we deserve. So therefore, it's better to leave it to Isvara. Isvara will assign us a teacher according to our stage of development.
As long as we stay open to it, yeah. And we have to be open to listening. And
Yeah, absolutely.
even now, I feel like I'm your student, and at the same time, other things may be presented to me, and I have to discern whether or not what choice I make. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're not the only Vedanta teacher, in the world.
Thanks God. Thanks God. I mean, I don't even know that if I'm a Vedanta teacher. I'm just a guy who was somehow, I found myself in this position of sharing this knowledge. I never present myself as a teacher, as you know.
And I love that idea of sharing versus teaching. So I talked to you about that, and it was a concept from last time, so we won't have to go over it again. But I love the idea of sharing versus teaching. Yep.
Yeah, it's much more to the point, So, but going back to what you just said, it's true. I mean, if the seeker is not ready to become a student, which is the case of the large majority of everybody in the spiritual world, they are not qualified to become a teacher. They don't accept the fact that I want a teacher and I don't want to be a student. Okay, it hurts their ego. Their ego is not mature enough to enter this kind of relationship. To become a student, the first thing you need to do is to accept your ignorance. And this is something that hurts big time the ego, Tradition, in the Vedic tradition, when you become a student, you have to show to your teacher your reverence, okay? Your love, gratitude, and reverence. And the only way you can show your reverence is by demonstrating humility. That's why they bow on the ground, because there is nothing more humiliating to the ego than bow yourself to the feet of another person. But this is all a symbol that was misused in the spiritual world as an overall thing, But in its essence, it's a way to say, I am humble, I am ready, I am qualified, therefore I bow to you, and please teach me. So very, very few people are ready to first accept his or her ignorance, spiritual ignorance, and put himself or herself in the position like, yes, please teach me, I'm humble enough. The humbleness is the most fundamental, the most primary, the most essential qualification there is to enter into self-inquiry and gain self-knowledge. Without this openness that they've brought in, this humility, this ability to, I accept my confusion, my ignorance, I accept that I couldn't figure it out by myself, sort it out by myself, therefore I become a student, and please, accept me as a teacher, You are right. It requires great openness and humility. So there are three kinds of teachers. So now we're going to enter something. I love these questions. I decide to organize my answers a little bit, elaborate my answers a little bit, because it's a very nice topic, this one. There are three kinds of teachers, and we're gonna figure it all out here because it's well structured here. There is a teacher that we call initiating guru, initiating teacher. The number one is initiating teacher, is the one who initiates you into your spiritual life. Okay? And then there is a second kind of guru that we call inspirational teachers or gurus. It serves the purpose of inspire, motivate, encourage us to walk away, to let go of samsara and search for a solution which could provide us with true freedom, true moksha, So this requires a lot of encouragement, motivation, inspiration, and there are several gurus that are very charismatic and inspirational, okay? And then the third type of guru is what we call a teaching guru, okay? A teaching guru is a guru who is going to present you with the knowledge in a systematic manner, okay, and comprehensive and extensive, meaning to say scriptural knowledge is someone who is going to unfold the teachings of the scriptures systematically, okay, following the logic presented by the scriptures from A to Z. So Jesus is a teaching teacher, a teaching guru, okay, because it's not a question of introducing someone to a mantra, or do this, do that, or do this meditation, you know, repeat these japas, and so on. So it's not just about that. Though not to say that these kind of initiating gurus are not important. They get us somehow moving, they get us started, okay? They serve that purpose. For example, in my life, Osho Rajneesh was my initiating guru. What did he present me with? He presented me with all kinds of meditation techniques. And not only that, he even presented me with a huge field of all possible therapies. The ashram in Pune, it was filled with all kinds of the latest, most modern therapies possible to help the jiva, the individual, to deal with its own psychological stuff, psychological conflicts and emotional problems and so on. So it was it a good teacher? No, it was a perfect teacher for me. I need that kind of teacher. I had so much karma. I think I have shared with some of you. When I was young, I had so much karma to work. So I need that kind of guru. I was far from being ready to encounter Vedanta. That's why Isvara, meaning to say life itself, did not present me Vedanta. And even if it would have presented me Vedanta, I would not even notice it. It would say, oh, it does not get my attention. It does not catch my attention. Okay? But it presented me with Osho Rajneesh, the guru of the gurus, the guru of the royal voice, and the dance and therapy and sex and rock and roll and meditation. Zorba the Buddha, everything is available. And meditation and personal development. So Jesus was my initiating guru, and I'm very, very grateful to Osho Rajneesh. Without him, I would never be able to go into the next step in my own journey, which was to move into what we call inspirational gurus. Who was my most important inspirational guru? Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
Someone highly realized, self-realized, with great charisma, great authority. What is this authority that comes from the guru? It's his or her certainty of self-knowledge. Is a doubtless self-knowledge. This doubtless self-knowledge gives the guru the authority to inspire others, even if the guru does not have a complete means of knowledge, even if the guru does not have a complete teaching methodology, even if the guru was never taught the scriptures, therefore it can never teach the scriptures. You understand? There are many gurus out there that they are excellent inspirational gurus. Okay, so Nisargadatta Maharaj, Papaji was a great inspirational in his simple words. He was kind of simple in his you know, he was not very sophisticated in expressing himself, but in his simplicity, he has a lot of Shakti, a lot of power, and he was giving encouragement and inspiration to all of us. Just go, just do it, you know, just take your sword and win, you know, kill this ignorance, kill this, you know. So those are inspirational gurus that they are very, very important to a certain state, during a certain stage of our lives. But if our final destination is moksha, we should never get stuck with an inspirational guru, much less with an initiating guru, because they already have served their purpose. No, we should never look down on them the same way we don't look down at our high school teacher or primary school teacher. We don't look down on them because they have brought me where I am now, right? So we just we give them our namaskar with respect and reverence, and we move on. So we move to what we call teaching guru. Why we need a teaching guru? We need a teaching guru because moksha is being a byproduct of self-knowledge. Okay, it's only possible by the means of knowledge. And knowledge is something that needs to be taught, needs to be learned. Okay? Any field of knowledge requires teaching and learning. So any kind of scientific field of knowledge requires teaching and learning. Right? And then we could say, okay, but there are some genius in any field of knowledge. There are some geniuses that they don't need a teacher. They learn without a teacher. And that is a fact, right? Here and there we find people that they just say, no, I don't need a teacher. They are so bright, they are so smart, they are so evolved that they just go in the internet and they start doing some research. When you see they do more than the teachers at the college. You understand? So, but those exceptions to the rule. We should never make the exceptions a rule, and we should never take for granted that maybe that's my case. I am an exception to the rule. I am spiritually hyper qualified, hyper evolved, therefore I don't need a teaching guru. Why? Because I can teach, I can learn by myself. Right? So to learn the scriptural knowledge by oneself, it's very, very difficult, and the chances are that we don't succeed, and for different reasons. One of them being the fact that the student is not self-realized. The student does not really understand all those apparent contradictory statements coming from all sides, from all angles, from different scriptures. It's going to remain a vague, confusing, uncertain, unprecise kind of knowledge, and for self-knowledge, we need to eliminate all sort of possible vagueness. We need to have the knowledge very clear, okay? So this is another point. A lot of people in the spiritual world, they don't like the science of Vedanta. Vedanta is a science. It's made of pure knowledge. And they don't like much the fact that Vedanta is a science based on pure knowledge, understanding, logic, okay? Because they think that spirituality is synonymous of mysticism or esoteric. How do you say esotericism?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Esoteric.
Yeah.
Huh?
Eric?
Esoteric, I think.
Yeah, esoteric. There is no esotericism. Esoteric. It's something esoteric or something mystical and so on. So they say, no, I mean, people, they like sometimes some of these inspirational gurus. There are a lot of inspirational gurus that use poetry, for example. They know who they are. You understand? And the way they have to inspire the people is to say, all is Brahman and all, and see how beautiful is Brahman. And then they start bringing out all this beautiful poetry about the beauty of Brahman. Okay? But it's highly inspiring. Okay? But the guru has no problem with that because he already cleared his ignorance. But that poetry is not the proper means to remove the ignorance of the student. The ignorance of the student needs needs a real scientific approach, a scientific means of knowledge. Those poetries are going to be very, very inspirational, and it's going to give us a lot of you understand, highs. But it's not necessarily a means of knowledge to remove our ignorance. So this initiating guru, as we said, is the one that we have met at the entry level. The inspirational gurus and the teaching gurus. The teaching guru is the one a complete body of knowledge. It's the teacher who systematically unfolds the teachings exactly like this in any other science. So if we need to learn something, we need to follow the science, follow the logic. Vedanta is a science. We call it the science of reality, or the science of consciousness, or the science of the self. It's a science designed to reveal to the student his true nature as pure consciousness, as the self. It's not to reveal the nature of the self or of consciousness, of reality. No, it's to reveal my nature as reality, my nature as consciousness, my nature as the self. Okay? But it is a science. It's all based on beautiful, sophisticated, elegant knowledge. And all this logic is based on our experience of life, which are not properly examined. All our teachings are based on our non-examined experience, day-to-day experience of life. Okay? So Isvara just revealed this knowledge as a way to say, hey, wait a moment, let's analyze your experience. And then we go. No? With the help of our teachers, we go one by one, we follow the logic and say, yes, okay, now I got it. So I'm free, I'm enlightened, I understood, I am consciousness. I'm not the 3 states, I'm not the 5 sheets, I'm none of these, I'm none of that, I'm not my experience. I got the knowledge. So we wish that it could be that easy, but it is not. It's not, because ignorance is deeply hardwired in our unconscious mind. So, and then it begins our work. I understood the logic, I accept the logic, okay? So I see the value, but yet I find that I'm being pushed around or operate or governed by those vasanas, the ignorance-based vasanas that compels me to act and to speak and to live in a way that is in contradiction to what I know. So, and then I don't have this knowledge integrated in my own life, in my own personality, because what I know is not what I live. What I live is something else. Understand? So my knowledge and my life are not aligned, not conformed. Okay, so now going back to the question of Dave, which is his first question, but he has more questions today. I don't know if we're going to have the time. He says, who is a qualified teaching guru? So we understood now that we are way over the stage of looking for initiating guru. We are way over the stage of looking for inspirational guru. So we are with Vedanta, and what we want is a teaching guru. I want the whole package, the whole knowledge. We want that which has proved, systematically over thousands of years to produce moksha and freedom or self-knowledge. No? So who is a qualified teaching guru? Who is a competent or valid teaching guru? So I wrote 3 qualities for a teaching guru. These are all bits and pieces of information, everything I have read and heard in the past. It's all Sampradaya's knowledge, okay? from Dayananda, Paramarthananda, and some of this from Ramji as well. So there are three kinds of competent There are three kinds of competent, valid teaching gurus, okay? So there is the first one, there are three conditions that make one a competent teaching guru. The first condition is that this teaching guru himself, he should have self-knowledge. Why? Because there are a lot of people that may find themselves teaching without having self-knowledge. And this is a very, very common phenomenon. Okay, I know people all over the place, people who do not have this self-knowledge. They don't really know with certainty. Their knowledge is not like a doubtless knowledge. They are not really clear about this knowledge, but yet they want to teach. So we say that a qualified teaching guru, a competent teaching guru, it should have three qualities. One is he should know who he is, who she is, and this knowledge should be a hard and fast, firm knowledge, always present, always available. His life should be governed by this knowledge. His life should be a demonstration of this knowledge. Only then this guru has the authority to teach. Tatvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. Because if it's not my innermost reality, these words are not going to have a huge impact on the students. Okay? So just imagine the situation. I have a problem with my lungs. I smoked for 20, 30 years and I need to go to a lung doctor and I need to stop smoking. And I go to the best specialist in town. And then when I go there, the specialist is smoking a cigarette. So he's smoking a cigarette. Now, on what base I'm going to take his advice on not smoking if he still smokes? You understand? He will have no authority, at least not to me. I'm going to enter the door, smell the smoke, and turn my back and go out of there because this is not a good doctor. Okay? So you go to a doctor. This is very funny as well, but I have seen this situation. People go to a doctor because they want to lose weight. And when they go there, they find that the doctor is a bit obese. And he teaches, he's a dietologist or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
He can control himself. He doesn't know exactly what he eats and how much he eats, but the fact that whatsoever knowledge he has not worked for him.
That's right.
So we want someone whose knowledge has worked for him, therefore the person is an authority. No? The second quality is that he or she has to have a good scriptural knowledge, has to have an overall view, overall picture, understanding of Vedanta as a whole process, a whole system, teaching methodology. So the teacher has to have good scriptural knowledge, has to be familiarized with this knowledge so that it can unfold, you know, to the best of his ability, the best of its knowledge. Huh? So having said so, who is an example of those two first qualities? Someone who is self-realized and someone who has a huge, big overview, understanding, a lot of scriptural knowledge, you know? So someone having self-knowledge and the scriptural knowledge. We have several examples. We have Shimaya, we have Dayananda, we have Paramarthananda, we have Ranjis. Those are the guys that, to my understanding, have a huge body of scriptural knowledge associated with their hard and fast self-knowledge. So now we are dealing with someone highly qualified. Okay? Why? Because the person has this self-knowledge that has fructified in their life, has produced moksha, and on top of that, it has a lot of scriptural knowledge, a lot of knowledge about the scriptures of Vedanta. Okay? But a qualified, a competent teaching guru also needs to have a third kind of quality. And this third quality is communication skill. Okay? So a person may have self-knowledge. This self-knowledge is firm. The person may have studied all the scriptures and have all kinds of knowledge of all kinds of scriptures, you know, but the person may not have a communication skill. Okay? And this is something that sometimes I see, because I get curious. Sometimes people talk to me about a Swami here, a Swami there, and then sometimes I go and I listen to whatsoever is there in the internet, and then I note easily I can pick up on those different aspects. The guy has good knowledge, the guy has excellent communication skills, but he does not have excellent communication skills. Okay. And you can also pick up a little bit if the person is really self-realized or not, but it requires a little bit more observation, you know, which is irrelevant. But anyhow, a good teaching guru is the one who has the self-knowledge, has the knowledge of the scripture, and has a good communication skill. Okay, so these three qualifications or qualities makes what we call a qualified teaching guru. Okay. So the next aspect of Dave's question is this teaching guru, that there are many good teaching gurus, is it better that I pick a guru who is alive, or if I can pick up a highly qualified guru, even though he already passed long ago? You know, he died 10, 15, 100 years ago. I can just study whatsoever he wrote and whatsoever he spoke and so on. Okay, so the question is now, so once I identify a good teaching guru, so does it make much difference whether he is in the body or he's no longer in the body? It does. It does. So the best teaching guru is a guru who has a hard and first self-knowledge, because of this authority that it's very important in this transmission of knowledge, this certainty. Okay, this knowledge has worked to me. Has to have some scriptural knowledge, and is someone who has to have some communication skills. No? But if he is no longer available, if he is no longer in the body, if he has lived long ago, he is no longer going to serve the very, very most important purpose, which is to help the student to resolve its doubts. You understand? So the student, when he does not have access, and not only that, some teachers are still alive, but some of these teachers who are alive, they're not necessary, they are available for communication, interaction, and so on. If you want, for example, years ago to ask a question to Swami Dayananda, you had to go to India and stay there some time. Or if you want to ask a question to Swami Dayananda, to Swami Paramarthananda, you have to pay the price and go to Chennai and suffer in that dirt place just to have the privilege of seeing him 3 times a week, 1 hour, 1 hour, an hour, and the rest of the week you have to sit there. Understand? So these gurus, they have this huge ability, great communication skills, huge knowledge, and this hard and fast power, you know, authority derived of its own self-doubt-free knowledge, but not necessarily they are available for the interaction between the student and disciple. I hear people all the time when they get to know that Dayananda is alive. People who have, usually people who have already gone through Ramji and they feel like I want to explore a different aspect of our Sampradaya. And then they get to know Paramarthananda, who is the guy alive nowadays. Shimaya is no longer in the body. Dayananda has passed already. So when they hear about Paramarthananda, they say, the first thing they say, no, I'm going to go to Chennai and stay there to start with Shimaya. But it's not that simple. Shimaya does not have an ashram that you can go there and stay 24/7. He lives in his apartment and you're going to see him just 3 hours a week. And most of the class, you cannot ask questions, but here and there. So it's not really practical. In an ashram, you can just say, no, I become a sannyasi. Here goes my money. Here goes my old clothes. Give me a yellow clothes. And I'm here to stay. Which can be something to regret for later on.
Been there.
So the teacher, the best teacher, is a teacher who has self-knowledge, has a good communication skill, and and has this close proximity to the student, which allows the student to clear his or her doubts with the student, because that is the most important service that the teacher has to offer to the student, is to clear one's doubts. Because once we really begin doing the work, there will be a lot of confusion, a lot of contradiction, a lot of things that makes no sense. And that's where the teacher comes into place. I mean, with my students, my friends in Brazil, I'm busy. I mean, most of my time I'm busy with them because I get everyday questions from them. It's all in Portuguese language. I answer, I talk to them almost every day on Zoom, okay? Because when you begin having more students, I mean, and they trust this relationship and they start doing the work, and then the questions surface, and then again and again, the teacher can help. You understand? If it was not for that, and then we would say, no, just go and study the 2,000 pages of Bhagavad Gita, Homestead. I'm studying again. I never stopped studying. I'm studying for my seminar in India. So we just start. But the problem is that the students, when they start studying without the help of the teacher, he's going to interpret it. You know, either he interprets distorting, you know, changing, misunderstanding the meanings of those verses, or he's going to suppress every area that is not clear, which is vague, is confused. The student does like, no, it's okay, it's not important, and then he just suppresses it. He just puts it under the carpet, okay? No wonder if later on the student has a self-knowledge, the self-knowledge is going to be a vague self-knowledge. And the vague self-knowledge is not a good protector against samsara, against the Christ and all the problems of living, you know, in this world of duality. If my self-knowledge is not really clear, really free from any kind of vagueness and confusion, and then it's not a good self-knowledge. So the student is able to ask questions and resolve doubts without the teacher to ask the student, is left to its own conclusions based on his or her interpretations and determinations. That's why the value of a teacher who is alive. So the student can ask questions. The teacher will be able to help the student to fall, to help the student not to fall into delusion and egocentric patterns of attitudes and behaviors. Understand? So I have had already enough experience since I began sharing Vedanta with few of my friends who really became dedicated with this work. And I could see the similar process that happened to me in my early days, you know. The ego is not really resolved. And then the person start tripping, start going a bit delusional, and then the ego start coming back and say, oh yeah, so I have the moksha, I have the highest moksha, and everything is clear. You start, the teacher start listening to the statements, only those who are very close and intimate. And then with a certain skill, very carefully, it may try to help the student to see, you know, that he's missing the point. That the ego, this vanity of the ego who believes that I, God, is the problem. This has to be resolved, has to be neutralized in the light of the teachings and say, no, the ego, freedom is freedom from the ego. It's not freedom for the ego to just, oh, I'm the enlightened one, and so on. You know? So the teacher can help the student in all different levels, you know, in this sense. The relationship with an alive teacher is a declaration of one's self-ignorance. So it means to say, an alive teacher, and only an alive teacher, is what serves the purpose for the student to develop its humbleness, its humility, because the moment that the student enters a relationship with an alive teacher, not a dead teacher, an alive, only then the student begins to exercise its qualification, or develop its qualification of humbleness and humility. Because as I said before, it takes humility and humbleness. And when we have a dead teacher, a teacher who lives 50 years ago, 30 years ago, the ego can play any number. I'm studying this and that, and the arrogance of the ego remains intact. It's not required to be humble or to be, you know, to develop humility. Why? Because I don't need to really contact anybody here. I don't need to contact my teacher. I just say, no, I am a student. I have met many people who claims that they got their enlightenment from Ramana Maharaj. I had a close friend of me who was a guru there in California, who declares, and he's not the only one. Who was your teacher? Ramana Maharaj. He never met, because he was not from that generation, of course. But they had a vision of Ramana Maharaj coming in their bedroom or in the dream and so on. And Ramana Maharaj said something to them, and then they said, I got enlightened by Ramana Maharaj, and Ramana Maharaj told me to go and teach. You understand? So the ego can develop all kinds of you know, funny ideas. And this vanity, this egocentric kind of self-glorification is going to remain intact, because the person has no opportunity to go in front of Ramana Maharaj and say, Ramana Maharaj, my guru, I am teaching under you, and you appeared to me and this and that, and I heard from you, you told me to go and teach, and I'm a qualified teacher. Am I right? Well, are you really endorsing me? And so on? No, Ramana Maharaj has left long ago. Okay, so only with a live teacher, this interaction, this relationship, can favor the development and the exercise of humility, which is a basic, fundamental qualification. Humility, patience, and trust. Trust in the scripture and trust in your guru. Okay, now to close this circle, am I a qualified guru? I have no idea. I leave it all to whosoever contacts me to decide. And I always told, I never present myself as a teacher. I always present myself as a friend who shares whatsoever self-knowledge and the scriptural knowledge I have with the best possible of my communication skills, which is not that great, as you have noticed. So what's the bottom line is that a good teacher is someone with certain communication skills, with certain familiarity with the scriptural knowledge, but with hard and fast and firm and always available self-knowledge, because this is very, very important, and and someone who is always available, because the main purpose of the teacher is to clarify and resolve our questions, our doubts. You understand?
That's what it's saying. Just in the chat.
Okay, Dave has brought some other questions that we don't have the time to go into them today. But anybody has any other contribution or any kind of thing to say?
Ruth did something in chat, but I can't see it.
Ruth is like,
Oh,
yeah,
I said, like Ramji says, I can't say I'm enlightened, but I can't say that I'm not. So he says a similar thing. You know, I can't say that I'm a teacher, but I can't say that I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I often say that what makes a teacher are the students. So anybody can go out there and say, I'm a teacher. But unless there is somebody who says, I am the student, the teacher is not a teacher. Huh? So what makes the student, the teacher, are the students. And this is, it's better be a very natural and spontaneous kind of phenomenon, okay? As far as
Thank
being
you very much.
enlightened, being not enlightened, we always say that this is a very bad expression. It's not a question of being enlightened. We are all the light. We are all the light of consciousness, using this beautiful metaphor of the self as the light. And the question is only that most of people in the world, large majority of the humanity has no clue that they are pure limitless consciousness. And a lot of people who know that is not really certain about this knowledge. It's still a doubtful knowledge. You understand? Why we yet benefiting and enjoying and appreciating this knowledge, because it's not yet a knowledge free from any kind of uncertainty.
Linda, thank you so much. And would you just cover your plans or intentions for the next week or two in terms of classes?
Yeah, for me, Christmas and New Year does not stop me going through my day-to-day, schedule of life. So everything is scheduled through Christmas and New Year. If I'm not going to shoot any email. I'm going to open the class, because I heard from Lynn, I heard from Ruth and other people that they are going to be with me in between this season. And then in last class we had in Monday evening, I mentioned Monday evening here, it was midday there. I mentioned that in India, I will have a lot of free time, because people who go to this Ayurvedic center, they go there for different purposes, and they want to have many hours free during the day for their treatments and massage and yogas and meditations in this center. So it might be that I find the time for us to carry on our meetings, okay? We'll let you know.
Hope so.
Okay, so Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevamshyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Meet again. Shanti.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Meeting to the right.